WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. Well, folks, it is a big year for politics here in the Carolinas and across the country. From the president all the way down to local representatives, voters will be weighing in on the direction of our country and our state. And in a moment, two political experts in the Carolinas will share their predictions for the upcoming year. But first, crime in Charlotte taking center stage this week after chaos erupted in Uptown during New Year's celebrations. A suspect behind bars after randomly shooting 5 people. It's just the latest act of violence at Romeo Bearden Park in the past year. And now one Charlotte leader is calling for a task force to take a deeper look at crime in the Queen City. Joining us now is Charlotte City Councilman Tariq Bokhori. Councilman, welcome back to Flashpoint.
Thank you.
So you're calling for a special task force to tackle crime. What about this shooting on New Year's Eve was for you the final straw to push for change?
Well, I mean, it's not that it's the final straw. I've been at the final straw as have a lot of people in Charlotte for a while now. It was an opportunity that enraged a lot of us where all eyeballs were pointing at something again. And to be honest, this was a significant, not just for the injuries that occurred, but the fear that, it's Uptown. This is a significant part of town that we've been trying to revitalize for a while now. And whether it's economic development and events that we're trying to bring there or just safety overall, this is a terrible, terrible storyline for that. And I think people are just kind of got to a moment of a flashpoint of like, I'm kind of fed up. And that's when I kind of jumped in and said, this is an opportunity for me to not just lay out, here's what I think we should do in the form of this task force, which isn't a great name for it because it is the opposite of the bureaucracy that a lot of people think of that I have in my head here for that. But it's an opportunity for me to hopefully in kind of a new way here, get my colleagues to coalesce around it and get other members of leadership throughout the state and the region here to all jump on board so we can do it as a team together, because that's really the only way it's going to get done.
And what sort of feedback, what sort of reception has this idea gotten among your city council colleagues?
Yeah, so, I started right away with just kind of reaching out to them. This is new Tark here, right? Old Tark just goes out there and says the things he thinks exactly need to happen. And then all of a sudden, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I, at the same time, reached out to all my colleagues and kind of said, listen, here, I'd like to talk to you about this. This isn't a baked plan yet. It's the beginning of one. Love your insight. So I started that dialogue at the same time. And this has all happened in 48 hours. At the same time, I got a call from the district attorney who, one, gave me some great insights into some assumptions I might have had that weren't correct, which is exactly what we need to do. And then he committed to being a part of it. Then I heard from members of the General Assembly who also were like, hey, you don't normally hear General Assembly folks and want to help and get involved in a Charlotte issue that often. So that was great. But other than that, and the community feedback, that coalesced to yesterday, a 2-hour session in the mayor's office with me, the mayor, manager, and council members Malcolm Graham and Victoria Watlington, really hashing out, okay, what would we do? And came up with a great initial game plan of engaging council, engaging the community, and starting what I think the most important thing to this task force approach is, whether we call it that in the future or not, is setting a foundation of data to guide us for measurable results. And
best case scenario, 9 months from now, 12 months from now, what will this task force, for lack of a better name, what will it accomplish?
Yeah, I think there, and we talked about this at length yesterday, and I think you'll see two things. One, you'll see the community itself, leaders, not just on council and the DA and the chief and others, but in the community, in the religious community, all these areas coming together, that they will have united in a way, hopefully, that we haven't seen before in the topic of public safety, to create concepts that lead us towards a long-term solution where we need to go. And there'll be some short-term wins through that. But then we will measurably see differences, not just in violent crimes, but in property crimes. These are the leading indicators that I see. And I hope the final thing that we'll see is this is not a focus that just says we're getting them off the streets, which is clearly a main priority for me in this revolving door of our broken criminal justice system that brings folks back out there committing the same crimes. but it doesn't just stop there when they're incarcerated or off the streets. It follows them to whatever those specific paths are, whether it's workforce training or mental health help, or, coaching and mentoring for a lot of youth, which is a huge theme in what we're seeing in the data. It follows them to the end of a successful outcome.
In this case, the only problem is the suspect didn't really have much of a criminal record, and his mom even seems to be involved, came to court saying he had several jobs, that he was a good kid. How would a task force or any law prevent suspects like this in Uptown?
Yeah, and this is a great point, going back to where we started. It wasn't really this singular event, right, that bothered me. It wasn't even a few weeks ago, the 4, 13, and 14-year-olds in a joyride that, when they got arrested, had 84 charges combined amongst them, 13 and 14 years old. But if we look at that night itself, it was the anecdotal stories I heard from people that were there of what happened before that shooting. Folks, really the energy building, fights breaking out. And these are a lot of kids involved in that stuff too. This is the kind of thing that makes people not want to go uptown. Uptown as it exists now didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Eastland Mall didn't happen overnight. North Lake Mall didn't happen overnight. Public safety is directly correlated, not just to quality of life, but our business community and our economic vitality here.
A lot of people talk about guns and the prevalence of guns, and your colleagues up in the General Assembly, the Republicans, are not going to want to talk about guns. What do you think is their role in this?
So, I think the General Assembly is going to play a very major role in this. We have laws that, as it relates to the accountability of parents with these kids who are out there, that we need to make sure is understood. Accountability first starts in the home. And there's a laundry list of other things, from funding for our DA to our electronic records and things like that. When it comes to the gun safety thing, this really bothers me a lot, because there is a pragmatic discussion to be had here. But everyone knows right away when one side of the aisle says thoughts and prayers and the other side of the aisle says gun safety, all we're doing is holding up in different corners. My goal is to not pay any attention to that as our critical path at all, whatsoever. However, once we're in good faith and operating across the aisle in a nonpartisan way, getting the things we need, I think that is we're in a safe way, not trying to have one side win and another side lose, but both be able to win, for us to have a couple conversations.
Tariq Bokhori, Charlotte City Councilman. Councilman, thanks for coming on Flashpoint as always.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one. Next on Flashpoint, it's a big year for elections across the country. Next, predictions for the new year as the race for president in the Carolinas heats up.